Hello my little cupcakes, it's Mio here, and today I'm so excited to show you how to make these adorable little cactus using crochet. Crocheting is a very easy hobby to pick up. It just requires a lot of time and practice. But once you know the basics, you can make the most adorable things. I'm going to show you how to make these 4 cactuses. This project makes a wonderful housewarming gift or a home decor. So if you want more videos like these, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. My username is FlyingMio, and let's get this tutorial started. You can buy these ceramic pots that are really small at your local craft store or at Lowe's, Home Depot, any type of garden store. You're going to need a crocheting needle. They come in different sizes. You just want to make sure you pick the right needle that fits the size of your yarn. You can just eyeball this. So let's make a ball first. So I'm going to show you guys these instructions in slow motion. You're just going to take a green yarn and place your needle underneath the string, cross it over. You're going to place it again underneath the string, hook the string, and pull the string through. You're going to repeat this process. Keep placing the needle underneath the string and pull through, and you'll form a nice little beginning to your character. Once you repeat this process 3 times and form 3 loops, you'll notice that you have what looks like a nice little neat braid. Now to make a small ring, I'm going to place my needle through the first loop I made, put it underneath the string, and pull the string all the way through both loops. This basic circle will form the beginning part of all of your crocheted sphere. Now to expand this circle, you're going to place your needle through the center of your circle, place the needle underneath the yarn, pull through, place it underneath the yarn again, and you're going to pull through the 2 loops. This will form your first little knot. So for practice, we're going to put the needle in through the center again, underneath the string, pull through, underneath the string again, and pull through the 2 loops. This forms your second knot. This knot in particular forms the basic knot for all of your characters. So with some practice, once you get familiar with how to crochet these knots, you'll get faster, more efficient, and you'll be making lots of characters that you desire. After placing 8 knots through my hole, I'm going to connect the beginning and the end. All I'm doing is placing my needle through the first knot I made, take some yarn through the first knot, and place it through my ending knot. And this is what you should have, a nice little circle. So to expand your circle, you're going to use the exact same knot, but instead of placing your needle through the center, you're going to place it through the first knot you made in the first ring. For the second knot, you're going to go through the exact same first ring that you went through initially and do the exact same knots you made initially before advancing to the second loop. So there are 2 knots under 1 loop, as you can see. So I'm going to do the same thing for all of my knots. Since I had initially 8 knots to begin with, if I place 2 knots in each little hole, I'll have 16 knots at the end of my second ring. I'm going to connect the beginning and end and do the same thing on my 3rd loop. I did not make any expansions on my 3rd ring. I just put 1 to 1 on each of my knots, so there is 1 knot per each loop. Now honestly, I don't sit and count all of my knots. I kind of eyeball to see how large my character ends up becoming and when I need to add or subtract more knots to it. But if you're a more concrete person, roughly I had 8 loops around my first ring, 16 around my second, 16 around my third, and about 20 around my last ring. Once I have 4 rings completed, I'm just going to do 1 to 1 for each of my knots. I'm no longer going to expand my circle because I don't want it to be too large. To make my circle smaller, what I'm going to do is start it off like I normally did. I placed my needle through and made 1 normal knot. For my next knot, I'm going to skip 1. So I'm going to place my needle through the hole, and instead of grabbing more string and pulling it through, I'm going to place my needle through the next hole, which is the 3rd hole. Place it through, grab some yarn, and now you'll notice that I have 3 loops. I'm going to take my needle, take it underneath the yarn, and pull through 3 loops instead of 2, and this helps me skip 1 loop. I skipped a loop about every 4 knots or so, but again, I really eyeballed just to see the size of my circle and when I needed to skip more loops or not. If this is too complicated for you and you think forming this extra loop is just too complicated, all you have to do is just skip the knot. Instead of going to the second knot, just go straight to the 3rd one and just form a normal crocheted knot. And honestly, if you forget to add a knot or skip a knot, it's really not going to affect the overall size of your character, so you don't have to obsessively count. The key is to make sure once you already started skipping knots to not add any new ones. You just want to make sure you consistently do 1 to 1 or skip a knot in between. Once you have a hole that's small enough to start closing, you're going to stuff it with some pillow stuffing, and then you're going to go ahead and crochet the rest until you can no longer see an opening at the very end. And while it looks really difficult, I promise you guys once you practice, you'll develop a lot of muscle memory, and this will make a lot more sense once you try it yourself. So for the very end, I'm just going to pull the string through the hoop, form a knot, and your circles are all done. For the mud in my potted plant, I used some brown yarn and I formed the exact same circle I did with my cactus. I just didn't make them larger to form the actual three-dimensional sphere, just a flat circle that will fit inside my pot. I placed some cotton underneath the very bottom and I kind of positioned it onto my little pot to make sure that everything fits well. To hold everything together, I personally used a hot glue gun and just glued the yarn to my pot, but you can use super glue if you want. And really, you can stick one of your green spheres on top and you just made your basic cactus #1 right here. Now to form the other styles of your cactus, for one of them, I did an extra little limb, and this is going to form the bunny looking cactus. And when I have my 8 rings done, instead of forming 16 rings on my second loop, I just kept it 8 rings all the way down so it formed a nice little cylinder. I made 2 of them that were different sizes with different amounts of loops, and you can make them whatever size you want. Just make sure you stuff them and you position them onto your original circle so you get an idea as to how large they're going to be when you're done. You can super glue these limbs onto the actual body of the cactus, but I just used the extra yarn that I had from the knot and I just pulled it through the body and tied a knot to attach them on. So it's really easy, and that's how I formed the bunny-eared cactus. For the longer cactus that has a really large head, it looks like an alien, I formed the basic circle like I did earlier, and once I reach to the half part of the largest part of the head, I just keep expanding it, and instead of forming a lot of skip parts to form a little circle, I just skipped less often. I only skipped a loop maybe once every 5 stitches so that it formed a nice little cone shape on the bottom. Again, I didn't really count how many knots I made for each loop. I really just eyeballed to make sure that it was the size that I want it to be. And of course, your cactus can be however large or small you want it to be. It can be longer than mine, or it can be shorter than mine. And for the last style cactus, I took a sphere that I almost completed but didn't. I just left a small opening on the bottom and I flattened it so it becomes one of those flat cactuses. I formed 2 little small circles, one smaller than the other, and I just tied the smaller one on top of the larger one. All you need now is to form the cute little flowers on your cactuses. I am needle felting these flowers, so all I'm taking is a sponge, a felting needle, and some felting wool in the color of your choice. To form a pink flower, I just took some felting wool, rolled it into a cylinder, and used my felting needle to help hold this piece together. Now once you have a nice little flat pancake, I'm taking my felting needle and I'm gently pressing the felting wool into the center and forming 5 little petals. Please be sure to be very careful with this because I poked myself several times trying to form this flower and it hurts a lot. So be sure you do this very slowly and gently. And as you can see with time, the places where I emphasize the indentations more have formed nice little petals all around my felting wool. My flowers ended up being about less than 1 inch in diameter, and to form the center, I'm taking some cream colored felting wool, rolling it into a nice little ball and felting it into a nice little sphere. I'm going to go ahead and felt the center of my flower onto my pink petals, and this will form my adorable little flowers. All you gotta do now is put everything together. So I'm using a hot glue gun to help hold everything together. I'm just placing it underneath my cactus pieces and I'm super gluing it onto my nice little potted plants. Be creative about where you put all of your flowers. I like to put them in odd places so it makes my character look really balanced when I'm done. But here's what all of my cactuses look like when I was done gluing everything together. Now, if you want your cactuses to look like this and you're done, that's completely fine. I decided to add faces to mine, so I formed little black eyes using polymer clay and I stuck them onto my cactus bodies to form a face. And to give it blush, I'm using actually a makeup palette. I'm using some pink eyeshadow to help stain the actual yarn to have a nice rosy pink color. And that, guys, is how I made my adorable little cactus characters using the crocheting technique. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a bit long, but I really wanted you guys to be able to experience all the wonderful things that crocheting has to offer. For more videos like these, please subscribe and hit the like button. You can follow me on Instagram. My username is FlyingMio, and you can see more crafts that I have created. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. Good luck on crafting, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!